I think there's some interesting things that have developed this year. I think from our work with the Department of Health, recognising that the EDC, the Equality Diversity Council, is there, it's happening. It's a structure, which I think is a good thing. I think the big question is it a structure which will just turn into yet another bureaucracy in that sense? So in terms of the particular work we've been involved with, I think that's quite important. And right at the other end, I suppose, the fact that we have the Stephen Lawrence trial going on, the fact that that is really working to deal with racism and that there's no hiding place. I suppose there's a kind of, for me, there's that ground in structural thing of the EDC, and the other side I'm seeing the Stephen Lawrence thing. Those are the two things that came to mind, and in that sense I think that's positive. In terms of where there's negatives, I think we have a society which is groaning to some extent. There are issues in it. I'm not sure if I would put those down to being race and equality issues, although I think that plays a part of it. If you to look at the statistics of those who are not doing well in society, it's always the same groups of people, and that always has a racial side to it. I think that in any economic time, those who have got least facilities will always do worse. So in that sense, I think that we're in a difficult time, and there's a tail end of that, and it's more difficult in that sense. Because of the economic situation, because of the issues we face, I do see a number of faith groups starting to look at their local community and saying, we have something we have to do. Our role is not just a spiritual role. Our role should be to look at what should be done here. And then in some communities, particularly where there's low levels of employment or low levels of diversity of job opportunities, then the question I've heard being asked is, what is the role that the church or the mosque or any faith group has as part of the local economy? And that's a very interesting and a very different question, and that's one that it really has only just started to hit my radar in terms of discussion that's going on in the past little while. And in that sense, I see a positive potential as we look into 2012, but it's a starting route which I think almost starts coming out of the summer disturbances, that kind of stuff, where people are saying, hang on, there's something we have to do, we can't leave it to central government, there's something we have to do on the local level, because actually central government can only tinker with the economy, they can't actually solve problems in a local setting. I was very interested to be with a project called Route 18 in Brent earlier on this week. A series of churches have come together with a local mosque, and there's also interest from some Jewish groups in that area as well, and they're looking to really bridge that gap between the real gap of when people falling into homelessness, and particularly in the winter and that kind of thing. So each of those settings opens up their buildings once a week. And from that, there's another organisation, CHC, called Housing Corporation, I believe, and they're a faith-based organisation as well. They're working to support those people that are taking who are sleeping in the churches and the mosque, etc., actually into homes and sorting the situation there. I think those practical situations, the ground up thing, is quite interesting. What the issues were in the summer, why people felt they wanted to go against the social norms, or maybe it is the social norms. I think that some of the work the Grace Equality Foundation is going to be doing around that is going to be very important, and I think it's to do with a sense of belonging, a sense of buying in to society. I think that if we can start to work out why people grab for themselves, I'll have that being the common British term, rather than thinking the consequence for others, then I think that will be a very important stage in actually how we give people a stake in society. And actually, from my perspective, I want to see more faith-based organisations, more community organisations actually say we need to step up to the plate and do something. Not that it was their role, not that they have not been doing stuff already, but actually where they realise that no one else can do stuff. And in terms of how that plays out, when we see each other as fellow humans and we start to work together to facilitate different things, I think that can make a difference to all people. And actually there's that ground level activity. There's things we need to do in government, there's things we need to address, there's the stuff we need to look at in the press and all those kind of things, the stereotypes that are pushed out by the media all the time. But in the end, the difference is when people are on the ground. I did some work in a alternative school for Year 11 students who find themselves outside of schooling, and the leader of the council is to come and speak to them in January. And we realised that those young people have no understanding that this is probably the most powerful person in their locality. And we need to do work on making them realise that the decisions he makes has a huge effect on the services, youth services, education provision, different things like that. That local side, I think there seems to be opportunities there. With another. And yet at the same time I realised that in terms of numbers of children within my kids' class at school, my kids are in the minority. And yet they don't suffer for that. And I think that if we can have a place where it doesn't matter for a child's advancements, for a child's opportunities, what race, colour, creed, religion and faith they are, actually that's not a bad thing. And my kids never come home saying they feel excluded, that kind of thing. And I think that's a good experience for them. And I'd like to see that happen more and more.